Everybody, welcome to Don't Get Your Hopes Up. I hope you haven't been getting your hopes up for the past couple of weeks because we didn't have any shows. So, but we warned you in the title. We warned you, and so we're good. We're covered. So, so that's it.
If you were expecting anything, then really,
you already fucked up.
Yeah, yeah, you deserve this, internet.
I've been gone for a bit. There's been some stuff happening, which I will hopefully be able to discuss at a later date. And so it's totally my fault. I am sorry. But there's been a couple things that have been happening over the past few weeks. Some things more recent that we are very interested in discussing today. First off, let me introduce my co-host.
Oh.
Yeah, stop. You're supposed to shut up. That intro was supposed to be all me.
Sorry.
God.
Hang on, let's do it again.
Welcome to Don't Get Your Hopes Up.
I can't. I'm sorry.
That's Josh. Say hi, hello.
Hi. Hello.
All right.
What?
What is that? What is that? Like...
What? I've decided that it's breathing in and making a like sound at the same time. I've decided that human beings are an inferior species for the fact that we don't have a mating call.
Oh, so you're gonna coin one?
So that's the mating call now.
Do it again. Yeah, it doesn't work on me.
Well, obviously, because you are not a female of the species, and mating calls only work on the opposite gender.
Whoa.
Haven't you seen Planet Earth?
I've not. But that's quite the assumption to make, sir.
Well, I mean, that's just how animals work. And I don't know. I haven't thought this through.
I'm gonna paint you into a corner like an asshole.
Yeah. Nah. Okay, fine. Like, if it's not working on you, that just means you're not interested.
I'm not interested.
My mating call is not working.
No. Not at all. Not at all. It sounds disgusting. What it does.
What? Yeah.
So what have you been up
to? Work. And
work, huh?
Taking time off of work. I've been playing a lot of Heroes lately.
And there's actually a thing that should be I was supposed to be doing here shortly that's Heroes related. Damn.
Okay. What?
Oh yeah, you might not know about it because it's a different team and whatnot. Because contrary to popular belief, the teams are not intertwined.
Yeah, if it's a Blizzard thing, I know nothing about it because
it's a Blizzard thing.
I don't work with the Heroes team.
I just can't remember if there's NDA on it, so I'll just be like, yeah, there might or might not be a thing going on right now that I was supposed to attend, but I'm not for reasons.
There was an event today which is public info because a bunch of streamers were tweeting about it.
Oh, okay, cool. And we actually have a writer that's there right now. And I was supposed to go along with Lindsay, but Lindsay doesn't work with the company anymore, and I didn't feel like there was no value in me just going by myself. Not to mention I have this nasty spider bite on my wrist, and I don't want to go anywhere with this thing right now.
Are you gonna turn into?
Sets in when I'm hoping Spider-Man.
Yeah,
but I think was
it a radioactive spider?
I don't know. That's the problem. You didn't leave a card or something.
That's how superpowers happen. You get bit by something that's radioactive, and then you take on all of the strengths of that thing.
See, I think I got bit by a spider that was just lazy and angry. So
it was a radioactive spider, and you're inheriting its powers, but its powers were to not do shit.
I know, and I think that's what's happening right now.
I want to get bit by a radioactive dinosaur. Wait. I don't think that would work.
Tiny little hands and
no, it'd probably just bite me in half.
What were we talking about? Oh yeah, so you playing a lot of Heroes lately.
Yeah, playing a lot of Heroes. I've been leveling a character. Lots of people in WoW have been doing this level to 60, then progress through all the raid content at 60, then level to 70 and progress through all the raid content at 70, and you can't use heirlooms or like classes that didn't exist at the time and stuff things. So I've been leveling a character for that.
You guys need a progression server.
I honestly I think that would be a really cool idea. It's just like it's a hard sell because it's a whole lot of work to put one of those together. And the idea, like, if we put all of that work into that, that means we're not putting all of that, like, those people are working on that instead of something else. And there's, like, a giant list of what those something else's could be.
Yeah, and just to put it in perspective, because it may seem like, oh, we'll just release it with, like, the first vanilla copy, and then, like, have people play from there. It's like, sure, they might have those things laying around, but every time an event occurred, like, let's just say the Gates of Ahn'Qiraj, the whole, like, everybody pitches in, linen, all that stuff, right, rune cloth, like, that whole event, it wasn't like it was one patch and magically that all that stuff worked amazingly. Like, there was hot fixes after hot fix after hot fix that went in afterwards. And it's not like there is a build lying around somewhere that's labeled Ahn'Qiraj collection phase final all bugs squash.exe.
The
like,
one that works.exe, yeah. Yeah,
so
exactly.
There's so much. I do think it'd be neat for sure. Like, I think it'd be great. I think people would love it. They go and explore. Obviously people would get in and probably be like, wow, this game really was difficult back then, because if you've played the EverQuest progression servers, like, you know that, like, these games are very different at their end life versus when they were at the beginning, and WoW is no different in that respect. So yeah, have fun, like, running across the barrens forever to like try to hack away at something and hope that it drops whatever random piece of body part that it may not have on its person at any given time, times 10. Like, have fun with that.
We're talking about a time in the game's life when Night Elves were considered to be the best race for leveling because they had faster corpse runs.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, like, it sounds like such a cool idea, and I would love to to participate in something like that. But man, oh man, I just feel like so much work involved just to set that up.
Yeah, I think the risk with I don't know what, we've gone completely off on a tangent at this point, but I think the risk, like the big risk with something like a vanilla server for WoW or a progression server for WoW, progression server, by the way, being the sort of like going through the life of the game starting from square one, and then as each patch comes out or each expansion comes out, it's like the game existed like it was in Classic, and then it exists like it was in Burning Crusade and so on.
No, like, cross-realm anything. No, like, phasing. Exactly. Even battle groups didn't exist back then. Like, it was nothing.
Yeah, like, I think the risk with something like that is a whole lot of people go, yeah, no, I totally want to play Classic. And then they play for, like, 2 days, and they go, well, that's my fill of Classic forever. I remember now. This game was not nearly as good back then.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, so many missing features. So much. Yeah. Oh, dude.
Yeah, like, you think of basic quality of life stuff, like, I don't know, gear that exists for your spec, like, at all.
That's right. Yeah, that is such a huge thing. It's like, oh, great, I've done 15 quests and none of them have. And you would be, this is where, like, I'm as you know, someone who works with Wowhead, I would be like, yeah, totally do it, because you'd be using Wowhead all the time, because you would have no idea where anything's at, because the map, the nice little highlight on your map that tells you where to go, gone. That didn't exist. Oh man.
Yeah, like, I remember rep paladins wearing gear that like had warrior set bonuses. It didn't help them at all because there just weren't other items to put in those slots.
Yeah, there was some interesting scaling though back then, and that's why, like, min-maxing with stats and stuff like that, and playing around with different stats on characters that weren't necessarily designed for that, like stacking crit on something, you know, just because you know you can, or because it's scaled really funky. That stuff was interesting then, but really exploiting like an algorithm in a stat does not make for good gameplay.
Well, and doing weird stuff like stacking weapon skill because you found out that it reduced your chances for glancing blows, which it never indicated in any way whatsoever. Just came from trial and error. And like people parsing hours upon hours of combat logs by hand to figure this stuff out. Like, it's the sort of thing that you can look back at as like, oh yeah, those were the good old days. But then like you think about having to go through all that again, you're like,
yep.
Actually, you know, I'm okay. I'm good.
Suddenly, it's not such it sounds cool, but suddenly not so much.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Like, I think like there's a lot of people that would actually be totally into it and be like, no, this is the type of game that I want to play. I think there is a number of people that would be like that. I am just my thought is that the sort of risk of it is that number of people high enough to justify the cost, or are we going to, like, if Blizzard were to roll something out like that, would they be would we?
Yeah.
Would we be putting more engineers on making this work than players who participate?
Yeah, I totally think you would. I think that's something that might work if you guys were dedicating like 0.5 or 1% of your dev time into like kind of hacking away at it or something. Like there's like one guy that's basically hacking away at it and trying to make that happen, and like he's gonna be done in like 5 years. Then I think it would probably make sense. At 15 years or 20 years, I might say, hey, now start over. Because, and here's why. There's actual, like, I think there's like math involved here, right? If you figure at the 20-year WoW anniversary, if they're like, hey, progression servers, now you can start over. All of you guys who are like me, who started playing WoW as single dudes, and now you're married with kids, right?
Grandkids.
Yeah, those kids are going to be old enough to take care of themselves, or they're going to be out of the house. So you'll be back to being a dude living at home, just playing video games all the time. There's just that 20-year window, right? 20 or less, hopefully, where you're basically actually it's like 15. I mean, once you get in the teenage years and stuff like that, it's like you might have to step in every once in a while and beat up a boyfriend or something or whatever. But for the most part, you are relatively free. So I think that a resurgence in WoW is possible if they do go the vanilla server routes, but they have to wait until we're all done with our kids.
Yeah,
they're out.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a brilliant idea,
like the
let's call it Metzen. What's he doing right now?
Yeah, we'll just get him to. Yeah. He's a server engineer. He'll be fine. Yeah, like the other side of it is if we've got this one developer who's just doing nothing but this for 5 years, like what else could he have done in that time? Like, are we talking about now there's 2 or 3 major game features that never get added because this guy was working on that instead? It's just sort of like, and it's interesting really thinking about it, because it's the sort of issue that game developers face that there really isn't ever an answer to. Like, at what point does it make more sense? Like, you could easily say, oh, I'll just hire someone else to do those other features. It's like, okay, but then we're still faced with the question of, should we have this guy working on vanilla servers, or should we have him working on another new feature? Like, hiring more people just means that now there's 10 or 20 or 40 features that never make it into the game. So it's an interesting sort of trade-off. Like, it's just and there almost certainly is a point at which it would make sense, in theory anyway. There almost certainly is a point at which it would make sense to do something like that. It's just a question of, what does the current player base, what does the do enough people in the current player base want this to justify the amount of time that's going to be spent to putting it together? So the reality is, what would almost certainly end up happening if it were something that Blizzard were ever to decide to come out with vanilla servers, would be something where they decided, okay, now it's valuable to have vanilla servers, so we'll put 10 techs on it or something, instead of having one guy sort of chipping away at it for years. Because then what happens if that guy leaves?
Hopefully documentation's in place.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's like, as brilliant of an idea as it is, the last thing you want the player base to know is that there is a guy who could be working on features now that's dedicated to making features for 10 years from now. Like, that would be headline making, you know?
Yeah.
Blizzard dedicating engineers to a 10-year plan, you know, instead of what's happening now. And it's like, oh,
yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird how often those sort of weird trade-offs actually happen. Like, I obviously can't give any specifics, but it's weird the sorts of times where, like, players have been really excited about some new feature that's been added to the game, and the result is that something else that they didn't even know about doesn't happen.
Yeah.
That may have been cooler, but because, like, a lot of times, like, let's use a theoretical example here, and just making up the sort of thing.
Theoretical.
Yeah, the sort of hypothetical thing that might happen. Like, say guild housing, just as an example, which is not in development at the moment at all.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, no. Guild housing is not currently something that's in development. So I'm using that as an example. It's something that a lot of people have asked for and said, oh, guild housing would be super cool. So the sort of scenario that may happen is Blizzard says, oh, okay, actually a ton of people in the community are demanding guild housing. They really want guild housing. We should finally go ahead and give them guild housing. So Blizzard then takes 2 months and develops guild housing and puts it out in a content patch. Everybody's really super happy. Hooray, guild housing. It's finally in the game. What they don't realize is that as a result of getting guild housing, they had to, like, Blizzard had to pull people off of, I don't know,
a raid tier.
I mean, a raid tier is sort of the example that people bring up all the time, but it's usually
that's why I bring it up.
Realistically, it's usually not raid tiers that are the things that get cut. It'll be things like, well, instead of this, now, because we had to spend all of the art time to develop the assets for guild housing, now you don't get a new race in the next expansion or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Like, because doing one thing means people aren't working on another thing. So if the artists are spending all their time working on new art for this new feature A, then they can't be working on the art for new feature B. Or maybe instead the next expansion gets delayed by 2 months because of this other thing that, like, there just weren't enough people working on it. There were not enough people available to work on it, or more accurately, the people that were available were fully devoted to this one thing. And to a degree, having more people can help with stuff like that, but it only goes so far. Like, and you still constantly are fit. Like, the reality is, if there were 10 more artists on the team, the game, like, the expansion still comes out 2 months later than it could have in that example, because those new artists could have been working on something else. But yeah, I'm way off on a tangent at this point, but it's just something that I find very interesting, having been able to make the switch from one side to the other and going, oh, actually, because of this awesome feature that everyone was really super excited about, we didn't get this other thing instead that would have been even cooler. So, yeah.
Hooray! Tangents, like, yeah, we none of this was anywhere on our notes. We scribbled together.
Yeah, we've not talking about anything that was on our notes yet. And we're like 20 minutes into this.
Right, yeah, which is totally fine. I think it was an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm not as good as you. I'll concede that.
So, speaking of MMOs that sucked when they first released.
I was gonna say, speaking of MMOs, and leave it at that. But okay, all right. I yeah, sure, yeah.
I gotta wonder, like, when people listen to these, or watch. I guess you post them to your YouTube. Like, people are listening to these, and they hear a weird segue like that, and then both of us just start laughing. They're like, the fuck is so funny? Because they don't know yet.
So Wildstar is going free to play.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big deal, and also completely unsurprising to I think to anybody. Like nobody will look at an MMO that is subscription based and be like, "What?"
Yeah.
Yeah, especially I'm sorry, anything that was released within the past like 5 years, right? Let's say obviously WoW is kind of they've superseded like all expectations, and they're kind of in their own bubble there. But yeah, any game that is currently operating in a sub market, they are not necessarily expected to last. And Wildstar is one of them. Now, you played more than I have, so
not by much.
Well, I've only played to like level 10 or something, or
I honestly did. I got to like 12 or 13, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get much further. Basically, I got to a point where I had like 14 quests to do in one little zone, and it was like this is very distracting as you're typing in our notes document.
Sorry.
Very important messages such as KK caps underline LOL.
I'm telling Josh that the Skype connections is like kind of getting shoddy for me, and so I'm like, "You're breaking up." He's like, "It looks fine on my end." I'm like, "KK," and it, for some reason, inherited the caps and underline formatting, so it looks like completely large and ridiculous. But anyways, Wildstar. So you played, you raided in Wildstar, right?
No, yes. Yeah. I world first. I killed everything twice. In the same fight. I resurrected it and killed it. No, I didn't play a ton. And honestly, like, it was a game that seemed like it had a ton of potential to me. Like, even in beta, it seemed like it had a ton of potential. And I was really, really super excited for it. And then it came out, and it kind of just felt like it was just overwhelming to me, really. Like, there was just too much going on, and I could not, like, I kept forgetting, like, wait, how does this system work again? I don't remember. Wait, what was I doing over here? I don't remember. And when you start getting into that point of you can't keep track of everything that's going on around you, like, for me, it just stopped being fun. And I was like, well, this isn't working. I'm going to do something else with my time. Yeah,
it's hard for me because like I've been burnt on MMOs for a long time. And getting in there and playing, people are playing Final Fantasy like 14 right now and loving it, which I'm sure the game is awesome. But like, I am so done with MMOs, and you could probably thank Final Fantasy 14 for that, actually.
The original version.
The original version, yes. But like, yeah, I got in, I played, and it was a really good looking game. The animations are great. The character, the personality of the game was really, really great. I just could not continue playing, knowing that, I don't know, for some reason, it didn't really, I guess it just didn't suck me in as much to like what it was. Like with there is a difference in the way that the game plays versus like WoW or any other tab targeting type game. It does feel very different, but it still, for some reason, just wasn't enough. I felt like I was doing, I felt like I was doing just like a lot of just tedious tasks, which is typical of an MMO. But for some reason in this game, it just rubbed me the wrong way. And I think I was like, you know what? Like, I'll just go play WoW. And I think that's what a lot of people do. Is they're just like, let's go play WoW.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I did like I made this little fat, like, mousy dude.
Yeah. I forget what they're called, but I had the same character. I liked them.
Yeah. And he was an engineer or something. So, like, I had, like, a kind of a radial blast or something. And then I had, like, a conal shape attack and all that. And, I was running around inside of this, I don't know what it was, this Citadel type setup thing, and I'm running around doing all these quests and everything, and it just, I think you're right. Like, I read all the quest text because I was like, I'm gonna get into this, and there's not a lot because of the way they designed it, and it just did not it just didn't do anything for me. And I want to chalk it up to, I'm burnt on MMOs, so that's what it is. But at the same time, it's like, well, maybe it's not. I don't know. But the fact that now that it's coming free to play, it's like maybe I'll jump back into it and check it out some more. But frankly, like there's a lot of free to play options out there right now for games that I already own. Some of them are buy to play, right? Like so, for example, there's Elder Scrolls, there's SWTOR, and then there's now Wildstar. It's like I would probably rather go and play SWTOR and take advantage of like their 12 times XP weekends or something like that, or whatever they have going on.
Yeah. For me, the thing with Wildstar is I know, partially because I have a couple of friends who actually work at Carbine, and so we sort of talk shop from time to time. Mm-hmm. Obviously, never revealing anything super secret or anything,
of course.
But like we just tend to talk about the games and like, hey, how's your game doing? Oh, it's doing well. And I know that my friend that works there, excuse me, I was talking to him a few weeks ago, and he was saying how they've actually improved a ton of stuff since launch with regards to like the flow of the game and how the systems work together. And those were sort of the big issues that I had. So I'm actually super interested to jump back into it and check it out again and see how it's doing these days. It's entirely possible that I'll jump in there and check it out and decide that, well, this game is still not for me. Mm-hmm. But if it's free to play, then there's like no risk for me to try that out. Risk. Exactly. Yeah. And if they really have done a ton of improvements, like going free to play is exactly what they need. Really, like they need to do something that convinces people like me to say, yeah, I'll go ahead and try it, because what have I got to lose? A few hours of downloading, maybe, depending on how fast their patch servers are. Yep. That's about it. Yeah, I'm interested in it. I do think that anyone who didn't see this announcement coming is perhaps a bit blind.
Yeah, exactly. It's totally like it's one of those things that nobody should be surprised. Like, I actually expect when a game comes out, if they're announcing that they're sub-based, that they are already prepared to convert over to free-to-play.
Yeah.
And they're just going to ride out and cash in on as much of this sub-based goodness and money and income. Because I would, if I was a consultant for them, I'd be like, yeah, like, come out as sub-based. You're going to get criticized for it, but you're going to make a lot of money initially. And you probably have a decent product, but because everybody is, very meticulous and very picky about how their MMOs are laid out, unless you're basically exactly WoW, you're probably going to eventually fade out over time. So come up with a plan from the get-go to convert over to free-to-play. That way you can make that swap, when the time comes.
Yeah, or buy-to-play even.
Yeah, or buy-to-play, exactly.
Yeah, start out, like... Honestly, Wildstar could go buy to play, and I'd still be fine with it. Mm-hmm. I like the difference between buy to play. The difference between a subscription MMO going from subscription to free to play versus buy to play is just a question of whether or not you want to bring in new people as well. And obviously, bringing in new people is always good. But if you were the sort of game that already had a pretty good subscriber base from the get-go, from the beginning, you got out there pretty well, I think buy to play can still make sense. It's just that people are going to be a little bit less inclined to buy a game that then they're going to have to spend more money on if they want to get other stuff. And I think that's kind of the important thing about along the lines of what you're saying with MMO developers probably wanting to plan out going into or converting over to free to play at some point after announcing with it or launching with a subscription. I think the big thing is just that they're going to have to make sure that they design the game in a way that it's easy to sort of add that free to play model in afterwards.
Yes,
like
cosmetics.
Launch with a cash shop. Like there are subscription MMOs with a cash shop already. There's WoW has a cash shop for like mounts and stuff. Have that cash shop in there already, and then so that way when you go, okay, now we're going free to play, you can just add things like extra character slots onto that, and done, no problem.
Yep.
And another thing that Wildstar is doing is they have they call it signature mode, which is basically premium mode, which is like a subscription. Which is another thing that, as long as your game has been designed in a way that it's easy to implement that sort of thing, it makes a whole lot of sense. because there's gonna be people who go, but I don't want to, like, I don't want to have to start thinking about how am I gonna manage my character slots, how am I gonna do this, how am I gonna do that, and having an option. Okay, you can continue paying for the game if you want, and you'll get these benefits out of it. It just makes more people happy, really.
Yeah, what was the date on the free to play?
I don't think they actually said when it's going free to play yet.
Let's see.
But it's possible I just completely missed it.
Yeah. Curious. Free to play. Here's all you need to know. 16 hours ago. Date. This 2015. Players who subscribe by June 15, 2015 and maintain a subscription through the transition to free to play, you will receive a DJ caretaker housing decor item. That's something I actually am very interested in getting into in Wildstar, is the housing portion of it.
Yeah, I felt like when I first
date
played
as
the
far as I
game.
can see.
Yeah, they do have that June 15th date, so it's not going to be any earlier than that.
There you go.
But yeah, the housing was something I actually felt like I was actually kind of annoyed, because everybody, like, when I was playing Wildstar at first ages ago, everyone was like, oh, but then you get to the housing and the housing is super cool. You have to keep going until you get to the housing. And I was just so tired of the game that I never got to the housing.
Yeah.
I don't remember what level it unlocks at, but whatever level that is, I didn't get there. And so it's like, this is potentially this huge, awesome part of the game that I never even saw. And it's frustrating to me from an almost like academic perspective, because it's like you could have had me potentially with this feature, but I just could not slog through the game up until that point. I had the same problem with Terra ages ago.
Yeah.
Like, supposedly going after the big monster, what were they called?
The big ass monsters, the BAMs.
Yeah, the BAMs, yeah. Supposedly going after the BAMs was like super fun. Oh my god, you have to play so technical. It's so, yeah, like you were telling me about how cool the BAMs were, and I was like, I cannot stand the process of getting to them.
Yeah.
Like, the leveling was just so mind-numbing, and the character, and apparently, like, as you went on and leveled up your character, playing the characters became more fun too, because things unlocked in different ways. But like at lower levels, it's just like, this is boring.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pushing the same button over and over and over again. I guess I can dodge, but it doesn't work very well. So it was just so frustrating that I like rage quit and uninstalled it while streaming. Yeah. And then ironically went and told everybody to check out Firefall, because that was an action-based MMO that actually looked really good. And it looked so good at the time.
No, you're right. It did. It totally did. You're right.
It looked so good. Like, it played so well. All they had in the game at the time was thumpers, and the thumpers were so much fun that I was like, I would play a game that I would play just this game. This is a fun game. And then they like managed to ruin that game before it came out.
I have to try it again, because like I have a friend who worked there, really good friend who worked there, and then she left, or she got let go. I'm not sure which. But then she went back. So I don't know what the deal is of where they're at right now, but you know, she's there, and like it's.
I've heard that in the post Mark Kern Red 5, they're doing a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen and from, talking to her, like, it seems like things there are good. So it's just a matter of, getting the word out. I mean, yeah, I wonder what their primary form of distribution is, because like Firefall is available on Steam, which is obviously a very really good platform for games to kind of get exposure, period. And they've been on Steam since like last year. So fuck. Yeah, it's free to play. Maybe I'll download it and check it out. Actually, I'm gonna click this play game, go and install it, see if I remember tomorrow to go and play it. But I'm very interested to see what it is that they've done to the game. Yeah, because initially it was like, remember the first trailer where it was like you're flying over this you're inside of like a drop ship or something, and you're flying over this giant chunk of land, and you see all this stuff going on, and then you basically get dropped in, and you have to defend the thumper thing or whatever, or whatever that mining utility like tool thing is, or machine. You have to defend that for a bit, and then you escape through, I think, through the drop ship again, and you fly back out, and there's like this giant worm thing that comes up. And it was just like, this world at the time was like huge for a shooter. You know, we see worlds that big in MMOs that were like tap target and all that stuff, but like for something that felt very interactive and dynamic like that, like it was something that was unheard of at the time. But that was the like first trailer that they released. And now we're, you know, that was like, what, 4 years ago or something? So here we are, you know, years later, and the game is out for a year now. It's got to be a completely different beast because it's changed so many times since then.
Yeah, definitely.
So now I got to install it.
Yeah. Yeah, I went and checked it out, I want to say like a year ago. And I was kind of about it still. But... I was talking to another guy at work the other day who said that he had fired up again. One of the guys on the Diablo community team who said that he'd fired it up again and he was having a lot of fun with it. And I've just been kind of like, man, I really want a game that's what this game could be. So maybe I'll have to try it out again and see how it's doing. I know that like if you watch, like if you go back and look through, basically where I'm going with this is that a company doesn't remove its CEO for no good reason. And if you see a lot of the crazy crap that, like, I was actually just looking at a Reddit thread, some of the crazy crap that Mark Kern was trying to do for Red 5. And none of it was actually related to the game, like being the game in any way. So basically this is a Reddit thread that someone who made like a throwaway account, I think it's a throwaway, I don't know, whatever, probably a throwaway account. He got gold on his throwaway account for this submission, so cool, good for you. What a
waste.
Yeah. But basically said Mark wanted to build a production company that operated online. He used finger quotes promoting Firefall as a weak justification for many expenses, which included, but most probably were not limited to, production staff of around a dozen people, quote-unquote red brand camera equipment, which is like a super high-end camera, like movie film sort of. There's a link to, you can just red.com is what it is, and it's been used in a lot of like actually fairly high-end movies.
Red, they got, oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah. So like Jurassic World was filmed with red cameras.
A red branded camera is super, super high end. Exactly. Yeah. We're talking like feature films, high end cameras. Yeah. Completely useless when it comes to stuff that's going straight to Twitch or YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. Like for example, I use OBS to record footage for the videos that I make at work because I know that everything I do is going to go to YouTube and never anywhere else. And YouTube's going to
crush it.
Yeah, YouTube just eats everything you put into it and chews it up. So there's no reason to bother with anything super. This is saying there's about $150,000 worth of this camera equipment.
Oh man.
They got a Sprinter, which is the that crew van sort of thing. It's a Mercedes-Benz. One of those with a custom Firefall wrap. They once they realized that the dev studio was not ideal for film production, they acquired a film lot.
Oh man.
On location shoots for episodes of some series that never came out. Fully articulated battle frame costumes, which were the ones that they used at like trade shows, but they were actually made because they wanted to do a live action Firefall miniseries. They did a whole bunch of, there's just a whole list of, I'm not gonna go through the whole thing here, but like basically a whole ton of money was sunk into things that were not improving the game, and when that budget can then be spent on improving the game, it means that the game can be made better. So that is why I'm interested. It's a very roundabout, silly way to get there, but that is why I'm interested to check out Firefall again. By Josh Allen, grade 6. This is my book report.
That was good. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Well, now they're all caught up on Red 5.
Yeah.
Wildstar is going free to play.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, so it's I actually was going to install it right now and it was downloading, and then I realized that I've been having issues with your connection with with our connection on Skype. And it's like, I probably shouldn't download like an entire game right now. It's probably not a good idea. So I'll hold that off until later. Speaking of nothing at all. So Twitch is banning adult only. Oh,
so speaking of things that no one watches on Twitch.
Ah, yeah. Wow. Wow. One day.
You gotta let the like sarcastic vitriol come through.
I feel like I'm a creative guy, but man, for some reason, like I just can't. That's just not in my wheelhouse. Coming up with these, what I say, I was telling somebody. Oh, I was texting somebody, and I used the phrase that you use, and I totally was like, oh my god, I feel like I'm ripping off Josh. It's like, let's see, no. Oh, here we go. So, a buddy of mine was in Vegas, and he sent me a picture. It's kind of funny. He sent me a picture from his hotel room. He's all, guess where I am? And I was like, oh, you're at the Wynn. He goes, oh, well, I mean, I meant guess I'm at Vegas. I'm in Vegas. I'm like, oh, well, yeah, you're in Vegas, but you're at the Wynn Hotel, you know? and he's like taking pictures. He took a picture of like random shit, whatever, sent it to me, and basically bragging that he's there and having a good time and all these girls, whatever. Like he's just doing like, single dude stuff, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, he says I have to be baller to be a baller man, right? I have to be baller to be a baller or something like that. I had to do baller things to be a baller. And I had just that same day, I had just gone and fixed and cleaned we have this like lamp that's in the backyard that is like dead. And so I took it apart and I fixed it and everything. It's like this kind of like this street lamp type thing with like little globes on top of it. I cleaned it up real good, and but it's probably where I got the fucking spider bite, honestly. And I put it all together and I got it working, and it looks great. It's in the backyard. It illuminates like, the entire, chunk of the yard. It looks cool and kind of out of place because it's so fancy looking. And I said, speaking of baller, by which I mean spherical shaped objects, no more blind stumbling around the pool. And like, as I'm typing that, I'm like, by which I mean, I'm like, oh, that's such a lore thing to say.
Yes.
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 Feel it run through you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, by which I mean is totally your thing.
I'm the only one who's ever said that.
So do we transition yet? I forget.
Oh, right. So speaking of things that no one watches on Twitch.
Yes. Hatred.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, no, I'm sorry. Adult only games.
Yeah. The only relevant one of which is currently Hatred.
and Manhunt 2. But Manhunt 1 is still good though, for some reason.
Yeah.
So I thought this was interesting because Twitch put out a blog, and whether or not it's about hatred, the way things rolled out with the blog and everything and the timing, everyone basically attributes it to the fact that Hatred is releasing in like a couple days. Now, if you don't know what Hatred is definitely a game that glorifies hyperviolence against civilians.
Yeah.
Now,
and not in like a cartoony like Hotline Miami sort of way.
Right.
It's like very, very like it's very clear and like fairly realistic in its hyperviolence.
Yeah. It's tough because it's about as violent as like, actually I would say Mortal Kombat is more violence for sure. Like there's no doubt, no argument. Mortal Kombat is definitely much more violent, and gruesome and gory. But its focus is civilian. So it's like, well, Grand Theft Auto is also like you could go around and mow people. But the difference I think here, and reason why it's such a contentious like subject here, is because the goal of the game is to basically go and just on a murderous killing spree and wipe out nothing but like as many civilians and and public servants and whatnot as you can.
Yeah, like it's the sort of game, and it's created in a way, like if you watch the gameplay trailer, which by the way, if you can't handle Game of Thrones, don't watch the gameplay trailer. But it's the sort of game that if I found out I had a friend who was like really super into it and was like, yeah, man, this is the best game. I've had so much fun with this game. I would be worried. And I'm the sort of, I've always been very like, oh, I mean, violence in video games doesn't mean violence in real life, but it's the sort of game that's meant to appeal to, like, if you enjoy this, then you're a little bit sadistic at the very least. So I'm kind of like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think there's probably a line somewhere.
Yeah, it's really tough to draw, to figure out how to draw that line, because it's like there are people that will play Grand Theft Auto simply to go on, like, to go through and see how many civilians they could just crush, right? Hold on, I'm trying not to sneeze here. No sneeze. No, okay. And oh man, this whole thing is just like, it's just like, wow, it's like we have Postal 2, we have Manhunt, and these are all games that are rated mature. So why this game got an extra level of well, the reason why is actually pretty silly, but still, it's like it's now disqualified, and it's like, man, like Postal and Postal 2 were like two very hyper-violent games that focused on going out and like killing like random people, whatever. And Manhunt is just like a gruesome game, just in general. And so this game is, I think those ones kind of like, they kind of slid under the radar essentially in terms of like whatever today's standards are. If today's standard of an adult-only game is in fact a game like Hatred. So the way this whole thing went down is, these guys probably looking to grab a headline. It's kind of amusing, this whole thing, actually, Laura. I don't know if you know this, but probably trying to grab a headline. They actually, you could fill out a questionnaire for your game and submit it to ESRB, and they will tell you what they think they would probably give the game, right? It's not an official rating. They would just say, well, yeah, based off of how you answered this, this is what your game's rating would be. That's how they got, they were told, oh yeah, adults only. And they broadcasted that, and Polygon picked it up. Polygon was like, oh yeah, these guys got, the ESRB gave them an AO and adults only rating. And, and it's like, okay, so now
they have to.
Yeah. Now people are assuming that, this game is rated this, even though technically it's not on the site. If you go to the site and search for it, it's not there. So it's not actually rated by, it was a questionnaire. You could go and fill out a questionnaire and submit it and just make up a bunch of shit, and like they would tell you what that game would be, right? So they totally shot themselves in the foot in this respect. And again, they probably did it to be like, wow, our game is so edgy.
Yeah.
Look at our rating, it's AO. And now nobody could stream it on Twitch because of this. But in the comments, this is the thing that like kills me. In the comments, one of the Twitch employees was actually using, because people were like, oh, well, this means a hatred. Like, why are you guys like hating on hatred? It's like, what's up with that? Whatever. And he's like, oh, well, we can see here that it's rated AO. And they linked to the Polygon article. Why would you do that? Nice. So that's the part that kills me. Like, obviously the whole thing is I think it's an interesting subject for sure, but man.
I mean, I think it makes sense for Twitch to just say, like, regardless of hatred or anything else, I think it makes sense as a policy for Twitch to say, don't stream AO games.
Yes.
Because, like, an AO game, like, in order to get your hands on it, you're at least supposed to have to go through some sort of like age verification and check and stuff at some point. And people lie all like AO games. I don't even actually know if AO games are allowed to be sold through online retailers. I'm sure they are, but it's possible that I just don't know exactly off the top of my head what those restrictions are. I'd have to go look it up. But they're supposed to be like the theory is, and the concept is behind the entire rating system is, if it's rated M for mature, you have to be over a certain age. If it's rated AO, then you really have to be an adult, and it will not be sold to you unless you're an adult. And they're not sold in a lot of brick and mortar stores as a result. I actually don't know how to get a hold of. Sorry?
Yeah, no, correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's not something you're gonna find sitting on the shelves if it's adult only game. There was a game with Ron Jeremy in it. It was a porn MMO. I forget the name of it. But yeah, you're not gonna see it. You probably haven't heard of it because it was given an adults only rating.
Yeah. And so if these are things that are so heavily restricted, like it's honestly almost like a legal liability on Twitch to allow people to stream AO games, because now you have no idea who's watching that. And like, did the broadcaster remember to set themselves to say that their stream is mature? Who knows? Most people don't, because it means fewer viewers, because people go there and they see they have to enter in their date of birth, and then they go, well, whatever, I'm not gonna worry about this. So yeah, like I think it makes perfect sense for Twitch to say, we're not gonna, like, it doesn't matter what hatred has actually in it. If it's rated AO, it should not be in a state where just anybody can stumble across it on the internet.
Yeah, it's I agree. Like, they definitely needed to find some way to distance themselves from some of this content, because it's very easy for somebody to create a headline that ties in, like Amazon, to this. And I'm sure the guys at Twitch don't want the guys at Amazon coming in and being like, yo, like, what are you doing? You can't stream porn on this thing. You know, as someone who worked at a site, for a site that did adult content that was acquired by AT&T, I can tell you right now, they are very quick to say, yo, whoa. We got to spin this stuff off somehow. We can't have, adult content brought to you by AT&T. Yeah. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Well, Twitch already doesn't allow you to stream porn for obvious reasons.
Yeah, of course.
So,
of course.
Like, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, you also can't stream porn that's in a video game.
Yeah, and I don't think it's funny. I don't think Twitch could have won in any possible respect. I just feel like they could have gotten closer to winning in this by not linking to Polygon, first of all.
Yeah.
In their messaging, it's like, and this is so hard. You as a community person, you know this. Like, they're saying our goal at Twitch is to create a safe, welcoming, inclusive community platform where everyone can feel comfortable and have fun. Blah, 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 all this stuff, right? And they say, previously we made game-specific decisions on which games we would and would not be available for broadcast, sometimes due to overly sexual content, sometimes due to gratuitous violence. Now, this sometimes due to overtly sexual content, there are, if you go through the comments on this blog post, people are posting, unless they've been deleted, people were posting pictures of various Twitch streamers that were wearing low-cut tops, like females that were wearing low-cut tops and cleavage all over the place, and some of them actually were like writing on them and stuff like that, and it's like on the breast, and it's like, okay, they're basically trying to drive home the point. It's like, oh, well, why aren't you doing anything about this? And it's just like, there is no winning.
Yeah.
When you do this.
Yeah, usually in those cases, the reason that nothing was done about that is that nobody at the time reported it. And this is probably the first that anyone at Twitch has been made aware that this individual streamer is doing that.
Yeah.
Like, it's not all the time. I don't want to speak on behalf of Twitch. I just know that, like, from a Blizzard, like, I had somebody tweeting at me earlier today who was really, really angry that his name was forced to get changed because it was called, like Shut Up Birch or something like that. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it was some sort of name that had been changed And he was like, how have I had this name for 5 years? You were fine with this name for 5 years. It's like, no, we weren't fine with that name for 5 years. We just didn't know you had it. We didn't go look for people that have replaced the word bitch with birch. Like, that would be a really boring thing to do. Instead, what's happened is it took 5 years for someone to report you.
Yep.
So, yeah.
God, yeah, that is very true.
Yeah,
it's almost like they should have said, the blog post should have just been like, we are banning all AO games. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Nothing that people could twist.
Yeah, definitely.
And even that would be twisted somehow.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
As a side note, just since we were talking about hatred, I find it interesting how as I get older, I turn into my parents. Because I remember like playing Counter-Strike when I was a kid. And I think that comparing hatred to Counter-Strike is a bit of a stretch, personally. But, like...
Go on.
I remember playing Counter-Strike a ton when I was younger. And this was, like, I was still living with my parents up until I went to college. So, like, I'm, like, 17, 18, playing Counter-Strike. And they're like, I can't believe you're playing that Counter-Strike game. You're not allowed to play Counter-Strike because... you're shooting people with guns, and you shouldn't be shooting people with guns. And so at the time I was like, no, it's not like me in this video game shooting people with guns means that now I'm going to go out and shoot people with guns myself. And then I watched the gameplay trailer for Hatred, and I'm like, oh my God, people are going to play this game and then go out and shoot people with guns.
Yeah. God, man. I know I'm gonna be in the same boat because I play games. Like, so actually, right now, it's shows. So, like, we used to watch CSI Vegas, but we stopped because it sucked. But you know, their crime scenes are very, very detailed. Like they're like, oh yeah, look, here's a severed arm. Ta-da! Look at this is where you can see where the wildlife came and chewed off like this part of his thumb, and like it's like right in the camera, and it does like the CG overlay, and it's like, oh, whatever, I don't know. But anyways, it's that for me, it's like, okay, well, Declan's like, he's like 2. He's not gonna know what that is. He doesn't really pay attention. It's not Mickey Mouse. He doesn't give a fuck, right? And so it's like he's like, but I still don't want him to see that, and so I know he's young and impressionable, and I just don't understand what that would do to him. And I don't know what I don't know what that means for me, 10 years from now when he's playing Hatred 5, more hate.
and everybody is like, man, you remember when our parents used to say that Hatred was a bad video game? Yeah. It's nowhere near as bad as fuck shit mouth 7 the cock hunter.
Yeah, exactly.
Like what it's just sort of like, okay, no matter what, there's always going to be in 20 years there will be something that's worse than this, and everyone will think this is perfectly fine. Yeah, so like with Hatred, it's like, because of the violence that I think, that we've grown up on, I feel like, yeah, you know what, that is, I think it's going to be a natural progression. We're going to see more of that kind of game eventually. And when Doom came out, it was like, that was a huge thing. It was like, this game is so violent, and remember when you did you ever play Bionic Commando? I don't think so, no.
So Bionic Commando on Nintendo, at the end you fight this like Hitler-looking boss, right? Like Mecha Hitler or something.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the Mecha. Like, I'm familiar with Bionic Commando. I just don't think I ever actually played it.
So when he dies, there's a little icon that shows his face or whatever, and like his face like explodes. Like, that was super graphic, at the time. And that at the time it was like, whoa, like that's his face is exploded. You can't do that. Like, oh my God, like kids are gonna watch this stuff. And so that was pretty bad. And with Hatred, it's like, well, we thought that was bad, and look where we've gone from then. Like, since then, we're now, again, Grand Theft Auto, really great example because everyone's played it. You're just like freely going through and just picking up hookers and then running them over when you're done with them. You know, it's like you're completely free to do whatever you want in these games, and hatred just basically makes that a focus. And I would not be surprised if we see more games. We had Postal 2. Well, we'll see like Postal 17 or something in the future. Like we're gonna see more of these style games because we are essentially trying to find the next big shock game that's going to that people are going to play, and it'd be like, oh, well, it's just a video game. I'm just doing this stuff. I don't think it means that we're going to have to see more serial killers or anything like that. And yeah, you're right. I think you said at the beginning, if someone was like, man, this is the greatest game, 10 out of 10. I love going around and shooting these innocent school teachers in the face. It's exhilarating. It's like, I would be
it's
like,
like the sort of thing
cool,
that in your rational mind, you're like, he just enjoys the kind of gameplay, whatever. But I would still be like, if I'm then at the office and all of the lights are off and I notice that he's walking closely behind me, I'd walk a little bit faster. I'd be like, okay, this is a little bit weird.
Yeah, and in our mindset, like for you and me, like this mindset is based on the fact that we're okay with all of the violence that we've seen in the games before.
Yeah.
And so, it makes sense. Like, 2 decades ago when people were freaking out about Doom and Wolfenstein and other games, they're freaking out about it because their mindset, in terms of interactive, whatever, like the most violent thing they ever saw was whenever you like are, I don't know, playing you're playing Monopoly and you send someone to jail. Like that was hyper violence to them.
Yeah.
So, oh man.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting. Like it just from the question of like, I do think that there is a line at some point, and it just comes into when too many people, when it's above some certain threshold number of people will play a game like this and the line will be blurry. Because like everybody who's played a ton of Grand Theft Auto has had this sort of like, wait, no, this is the real world. I can't just steal this car sort of experience at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're just walking along down the road, like, okay, I'm just walking to the place on the corner or whatever. Man, it sure would be nice to be able to get back sooner. Oh, I could just steal this car. Wait, this isn't Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Anyone, I'm pretty sure anyone who's played a ton of Grand Theft, because it's just something that feels so natural in the game, and it's similar enough to real life that you sort of have that instant, like the same sort of way that like having played a ton of WoW, every once in a while when I'm out someplace, I'm like, oh, I should just hearth back home. Wait, I can't do that. This isn't World of Warcraft. Maybe I'm the only one that does that. I don't know. Every once in a while, I reach for my keys, expecting to find a Hearthstone.
I was gonna say I've never done that. I've never been out somewhere and been like, you know what? I could just pull out my Hearthstone right now and just bloop bloop, go home. No. But that's cool. I think that's cool that you do that. So I'm not gonna judge you.
Yeah. Thanks, bro. But yeah, like you play a ton of something like Assassin's Creed, and then you're like, I could totally just, I want to get to the other side of this building. I could totally just go up that drain pipe and run across the roof, and then jump off into a pile of hay. Wait, no, this isn't Assassin's Creed. Like
a pile of hay.
There's always a pile of hay.
There's always, no matter what era it is. We apparently went through like 1,000 years of piles of hay.
But yeah, like you have that sort of, it never lasts long enough for you to actually even begin to act on it. You just like, you see the drain pipe and you go, oh, I could just scale that drain pipe and then run across it. Wait, never mind.
Oh yeah,
this is a bad idea. And I think there will eventually become a point where, like, for some people, wait, never mind, this is the real world, doesn't actually fire because it's become too close to the real world in the game that they've been playing. And maybe VR is a part of that. Like if you played Hatred on Oculus and were watching, like, as you're holding up a gun into some poor woman's mouth and she's screaming for mercy and she doesn't know why you're doing this, like, if you've seen it all from a first-person perspective and feel like this is something that you like, when it gets to the point where you feel like this is something you've done a lot yourself personally.
Yeah.
I think is when it could potentially start to become kind of alarming, and which is why VR tech is both really, really awesome and also kind of terrifying in terms of what it could actually mean for humanity as a species.
Wow, man, that's deep.
That is, I think I've mentioned that on this show before, but it's something that it keeps me up at night, man. Well, not really, but it's. I think VR tech is really interesting for that reason.
Yeah. Hey, you're right. Like, I mean, I was playing a lot of Dirt until Warframe came along again. But I was playing a shit out of Dirt Rally, and then I jump into my. I drive well, it doesn't matter what I drive, right? A sedan, we'll say. And it's manual, right? And so I after playing hours and hours and hours of Dirt Rally, I get into my car and I'm pulling out of my residential area and I'm all like, e-brake, bitch! Like, at 25 miles an hour, like, I'm gonna take this turn, you know? And it's like, it just, I have those tendencies and it just kind of like, pulls me in that direction. And I'm not even playing VR. Yeah. But I totally get what you're saying. Like, as we get, VR is gonna be, oh man, it's gonna be a divisor of sorts. Yeah, it's gonna basically come down. It's gonna be like, okay, you're gonna be on either this side or on this side. Like, you're gonna either take this. There's gonna be a large chunk of people that be like, wow, this is way too real for me. I can't do this. Yeah. There's gonna be people who are going to be able to disconnect from it fully and be like, oh yeah, no, this is fine. Yeah, like, I can handle this. But yeah, I see what you're saying with like hatred and hyper violent games. Like, I don't know if I could play. Like, Doom 3 is like such a lightweight game. Yeah, it's like. That game, when it first came out, like, that was a fucking scary game, you know? Especially because at the time you couldn't shoot and have your flashlight out at the same time for some reason. Yeah. So Which is
why there was the duct tape mod for it, like, right away.
Like day 2. Yeah. But yeah, it was. I can't playing it now. I think it would be fun, but it would definitely be. It would scare the shit out of me more. So take that effect on a game that's super old that you've already played. And apply it to something that is hyper violent, something like, you know, like hatred. And what would that effect equal? Like, what would that do? I don't think I could play it. Yeah, no,
I having watched the gameplay trailer, I have zero interest in playing hatred because I am too nice of a person. Like, I had trouble playing Renegade in Mass Effect the first couple of times that I played through it because I was like, oh, I don't want to be mean to the people. It's so nice. I don't want to be mean to everybody.
I know. Oh, hit the right trigger, then I close my eyes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like I've always had trouble just being a jerk in video games, even when it's not like also I'm going to kill this like shop full of innocent people. Yeah. So there's no way. I have zero interest in playing hatred. So yeah, like I imagine there will be a lot of people that are along those lines, and it's just not going to appeal to those people. And I imagine it's the sort of video game that would appeal to someone who also has serial killer tendencies. But I guess like the sort of counter argument is, are they then going to go out and kill a bunch of people because they played hatred, or is it because they're
or they be sated by it?
Yeah. Or yeah, exactly. Like if I'm the sort of person who's like, I just need to go on a rampage and murder tons of innocent people, and then I play hatred. Like, does it just get it out of my system at that point? Yeah. And then I'm like, well, wow, that was actually. I didn't realize that people don't like it when you murder them. I don't know.
Yeah, I could see both sides of it. That there are obviously people who have those tendencies. I think that are a very small minority. Like very, very, very small. But if that means that we have one less person going into a school and shooting people up, then great, make the game, release it and everything. Like, we're able to play it, we'll get lucky, and like crisis averted. We'll never know what the statistics of that is. We'll never know, obviously. No one's gonna be like, hey, you guys want to go ahead and write this review and say that I was going to go to this elementary school and shoot a bunch of kids, but I played hatred and I'm good. I got my fix. Yeah. I'm totally good. Oh, God.
4 out of 5 stars. Yeah. It's certainly interesting. I think the big thing just sort of like in my head trying to use my rational mind as I see like gameplay trailers like this, and I sort of have that knee-jerk reaction, like that old person reaction of, oh, this is gonna cause the people to kill the people, is that the exact same arguments were being made about Doom, and the exact same arguments were being made about Counter-Strike, and they were being made about Bionic Commando, like everything with like Bugs Bunny. Like these are arguments that have been being made for ages, and yet I think we've seen a slight increase in violent crime over the years, but not nearly to the degree that you would expect to be the case.
I don't think per capita, but I think that...
yeah, maybe not per capita. I'm actually not sure. Yeah. The only reason I say that is because there's definitely been more school shootings in, like, the past 20 years than the 20 years prior. Or maybe it's just that more of them are being reported, where we're hearing about more of them now because of the internet.
I think that's definitely a big thing. Like, it's funny. I wonder. It's like, I don't wonder. Like, that like some of this cop violence and stuff like this, like overexerting power and force.
Yeah.
That it's been going on. About it, right?
Oh yeah.
By any rap album from like the 90s, like it's been happening. But man, like I swear to God, every day I hear about something along those lines. And I think that same thing applies to, people going on these murderous rampages. Oh, someone walked into the mall and started firing off weapons and killing a bunch of people. It's like, wow, okay, yeah, I'm hearing about it because it's at the top of Reddit or it's trending on Twitter or whatever. And it's like, if I was living in a space where we didn't have that kind of communication, even on the most basic degree, like I wouldn't even notice it. It's funny, actually. I was just, and this may seem completely unrelated, but I feel like it kind of is in line with this. But like, I was talking to my wife about how we used to hit on girls on the Strip. I grew up in Vegas, so we'd drive down the Strip, and we would yell at girls and be like, "Hey, give me your digits, right? Like, give me your number, or whatever." And as I'm telling her this story about how we're like trying to get girls' numbers, I realized how fucking stupid that was, because none of those girls that are walking along the sides on the on the Strip, walking on the sidewalk, live in Vegas, and nobody had a cell phone, which means even if they did give us their number, it would be long distance. Because at the time that was the way it was. And so it's like our level of communication and getting information was so restricted that yes, I could not even go down to a populated area and get a number without having to be like, do I have to pay $5 to call this girl and maybe see her again in a year when she comes back with her family?
Yeah. It's funny to remember like the days of giving out phone numbers before cell phones, because like, man, 31 and I'm already doing oh man, I remember the days before there was fire but anyway, like it used to be. It's just funny to think about it. It used to be because you always do that. Oh, you gotta wait to call them back. You gotta wait. You don't call them right away.
Oh,
you gotta wait. The reason you used to wait was because they weren't home right now. They just gave you their number.
Yep.
So you had to wait for them to leave, drive home.
So dumb.
And be next to their house phone, and then hope that their mom didn't answer.
Yes, thank you. And then hope that mom doesn't pick up. It's like, oh, is this your own line? Like, which basically means, can I call you at like 2:00 in the morning? And even then, sometimes, you'd call expecting, a girl to pick up, and like dad will pick up.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh shit.
Yep.
That's when beepers came in handy.
Yeah.
And like beeper talk, and like we were able to basically use numbers to make words, and
80085.
Call. Yeah. And they like go call at a certain time or whatever. It's like, oh man. Yes. So at that time, which is this is such a tangent, but like this goes back to the whole like blowing into your Nintendo case, or Nintendo cartridge in order to get it to work. Like, how the fuck did everybody know about that?
Yeah.
Everybody knew about that.
Yeah.
How? Like, what? That I own. I like downstairs right now in my garage. I have like issue 1 through like 50 or 60 of Nintendo Power. Not in any of them is it say to blow it like you're gonna charge your cartridge. Like, how the hell did everybody know?
Yep.
So yeah, that's just a mystery. But I mean, still, just in general, communication sucked back then, and somehow, and so now that we are so plugged into everything that's happening all over the world, we're starting to see everything that's been happening, I think.
Yep.
And hopefully hatred can help reduce some of that violence for us.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, like, I found a BuzzFeed article that lists a bunch of pager codes. Because it used to be, like, before there were cell phones, like, if you got a thing on your pager, it would say what the number was from, and then there would also be a number code that could go along with it. That was supposed to theoretically mean something. I don't know what the thought process was there. Like, oh, we'll let them put in numbers, probably because they couldn't really figure out how to do anything else at the time. But like, 143 apparently meant I love you.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Because it's the number of letters in each word.
Oh.
Yep.
Weird.
There's another one. There's another one that is. It's like 3 words, something, one meaning. So it was another stupid way that didn't really catch on, I don't think. That meant I love you as well.
Yeah.
I used to beeper code talk like all the fucking time, dude.
Yeah.
I could still do it, like bust out like, phone and it's dumb.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's I think that's about it.
So that's been Josh and Mike's getting old and afraid of the future and death hour.
I think with reasonable understanding of it. So we're consciously getting old and understanding that it's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, how did I get through life before I had a cell phone? I think that to myself every single time I'm out somewhere and I need to know something, so I pull out my cell phone and Google it. And I'm like, what did I used to do in situations like this? Like,
I had a set of encyclopedias.
It's carried with you.
No. That's the thing. Yeah, like I had a set of encyclopedias. I had a full set of like these fucking childcraft science books, which I could thank for a lot of things actually. And yeah, so yeah, you're right. Like it was all at home. So if I needed to look something up, I had to like wait till I got home.
Yeah. Yep.
No, I think we would actually just ask somebody that was smarter than us.
Yeah, and it didn't matter if they actually knew the answer or not. You just figured they were smarter than you, so whatever they said at that point was probably true.
And it's not like that's changed with the internet.
No,
it's
not
the
really.
same people that you're asking.
Yeah.
You go to Wikipedia, you gotta trust that, maybe 2 or 3 people agree that this is the correct answer, not just one.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, man. Can't wait to tell my kid about all that stuff.
Yeah.
Back, in the future when he has a chip implanted in his brain that basically downloads everything to it, and he's like super ultra smart. And I'm like some fucking monkey to him.
Yeah, exactly.
Some idiot. He's gonna be like, "Wow, Dad, how do you even survive?"
I can't believe that you struggle. Like my parents playing video games on a PlayStation ages ago and just having so much trouble with it. And I'm like, it's so easy. You just you just push the stick and then you push the button. We're gonna be like 40, and kids are gonna be like, I can't believe you just think about the ball. And then you think about the ball flying across the room. That's it.
Just think about the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah,
all you have to do is just picture the thing that you want to happen. And we'll be like, I don't understand. I just keep walking into this wall and crouching in this bush. That's all that keeps happening.
Because you're thinking about what your hands would do on the controller that doesn't exist anymore. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so... Oh, man. That is so true. That is totally going to happen. It's not like our parents were idiots. Like, there's a lot of stuff that they knew and they got that, for some reason, this was just a thing that they didn't. Damn it. We're going to be those old people, dude.
Yep, it's going to happen.
Damn.
Probably already are.
We're getting there.
I know I can't build
We
shit
think we're on top of it. It's like, yeah, we're going to get, in what?
In Minecraft.
You get
you get a 2-year-old kid in front of Minecraft, and that's the fucking Sistine Chapel. Me for 4 hours, and congratulations to me, I built a piece of wood.
I built a shack. Yeah, exactly. I built a 4x4 shack made out of grass, out of sod, that I hide it every night because the creepers are gonna get me.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, yeah, that's true. Oh god. Well, this has been a very tangent-heavy show. I appreciate it. It was good.
Yeah.
Good comeback show.
Yeah.
I'm getting an Nvidia Shield tomorrow. Nice. I ordered it or today. So hopefully next week I'll have some words on it.
Nice.
But you already know I love my Shield portable.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested to see if this thing it lets me down or not. I hope it doesn't. I'll send that shit back so fast.
Yeah. It's gonna suck if you can't. I saw you tweeting earlier about the button mapping in Trials.
Oh.
Like if you can't play Trials on it, then there's no point.
I know. Trials is like the only mobile only game, I guess, mobile focused game. Everything else is like emulators, and I stream from my PC, and so it's like I don't know what I'm gonna do. Yeah. It's like that'd be great if I could play Trials on the TV. It's like with a donkey. It's like yes, have a donkey on the big screen again. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But until then,
yeah,
I hope you have a good week, sir.
I hope so too.
And
also, I hope your week is okay.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
We're going to be older next week, so things are going to be different.
It's true. By this time next week, we'll have screens implanted in our hands.
Yeah, and I'll put show notes on them so we don't tangent so fucking much.
Yeah. Yes.